Welcome, my darlings, to my humble chateau. Please make yourself very comfortable. Relax your mind and release your imagination to me. I will bring you a story to entrance and entertain. Perhaps a frightening one. Perhaps a steampunk. Perhaps a bit of mythology. Anyway, sit back, enjoy, and subscribe to me. Momento, Mori, Part 3 by Josephine Black. Ophelia, dear, what on earth's the matter? I looked up at my mother, tears standing in my eyes and my lips quivering. You cannot ask me to marry this man, mother, I breathed. She scoffed. Oh, hush, girl, she scolded, waving away my concerns like they were bothersome insects. He'll make you a fine husband. He'll never want for anything with his money. Except love, I thought, sinking further into despair. I was to be wed to Lord William Havisham 2 days hence. He had the full approval of my mother and father, though I suspected he paid them off. My parents were in debt up to their eyeballs, so selling off their only daughter was an easy choice to make. A loveless marriage would have been bad enough, but I'd heard things about Lord Havisham. I'd heard that he likes the drink a bit too well, and he has a frightening temper. He was also something of a tomcat. Word was he had nearly a dozen illegitimate children scattered about. Then there was the fact that he was 20 years my senior. At 20, I had higher hopes for my life than this. I'd been designing my own clothes for years now, and had thought to apprentice with a dressmaker. My parents, it seemed, had other ideas. The night before my wedding, my few friends took me out to celebrate. We went to the local pub. It had always been a favorite meeting place, thanks to the food and atmosphere. Ophelia, how are you holding up? Tara asked, concerned. Not well, I admitted. I've heard horrible things about William. No doubt he expects a meek wife who'll do his every wish without question. I paused. I can't bear to think of having a child by this man, Tara. The thought of him touching me makes me sick. I wish there was something we could do, Jasmine murmured, troubled by my words. Why don't the 3 of us run away? Tara suggested. And go where? I asked. I love you for thinking of me, but we have little money between us, and we can't be guaranteed a job wherever we go. Besides, I suspect both my parents and William would have the 2 of you thrown in jail forever, and I don't want to think of what would happen to me. I shook my head. No, Tara, we cannot do this. It's too dangerous for the 3 of us. Maybe that man you've been dreaming about will show up at the last moment and carry you away, Jasmine said then, eyeing me. If only, I murmured, despair settling over me again like a cloak. I didn't sleep well that night, and what sleep I did get, I dreamed of a tall man with long, wavy red hair and golden eyes. I'd been dreaming of him for months now, and found it comforting somehow. It was almost like I knew him, had known him my entire life. If I'd had better control over my dreams, I'd have told him about the marriage, and thrown myself at his mercy in the hopes of being saved. When I woke, I found a strange pendant around my neck. It was suspended on a black leather cord, so that it hung down between my breasts out of sight. The pendant, I discovered, was very intricately carved bone. Holding it up, I marveled at the craftsmanship that had gone into making it. It looked so delicate, but felt quite sturdy in my hand. I would have continued pondering over this surprising piece of jewelry, but at that moment my mother burst into my room to throw open the curtains. "Today is the day," she exclaimed, smiling broadly. "Out of bed with you, lazy girl. You've a man to marry." A man I didn't want, nor did I love. I was allowed to have breakfast, though it was all I could do to eat more than a bite or two, and then I was rushed back to my room to get ready. At least Mother was allowing me to dress myself. I had half feared she might insist upon helping me. Pulling the dress out of its wrapper, I blinked away hot tears and forced myself to put it on. The pendant stood out like a sore thumb, but I was loath to remove it. "I'll tell everyone my grandmother left it to me," I murmured to myself. "They won't make me remove it then." The ceremony was over in what felt like a blink of the eye to me. William was, of course, eager to take me home, so he left not very long after the marriage was made legal and binding. On our way out, I caught a flash of red and turned quickly, only to find it was a woman and not a man. "Looking for someone?" William asked. "No," I replied immediately. "Her hair just caught my eye, is all." "I see," he murmured, a hint of a leer forming on his fleshy lips. "Oh, what have I done?" I reflected, a bit panicked. "Now the lout thinks I like women as much as men. Will doubtlessly try to bring another woman into our bed. Not that I would object, but I'd rather sit it out than be involved. I'd only be too happy to hand him off to other women so he doesn't touch me." His home was a monstrosity of mortar and stone, a true manor house in size and architecture. He took me inside, introduced me to his staff, and then sent me off with a maid to settle in for a time. His bedroom made me physically ill. William was a philanderer and obviously didn't care if anyone knew. Paintings of nude women in lewd acts with men graced the walls, and the bed was rumpled. The smell of sex still hung in the air, and I fought not to vomit. God, the thought of any woman letting him touch her! How could they? The maid was an older lady who had kind eyes, and when she noticed I'd gone quite pale, she put a gentle hand on my arm. "Courage, child," she murmured. "I and the others will do what we can to help spare you from his advances, such as they are." "Thank you," I breathed gratefully. She studied me for a moment and nodded. "Let me show you something." I followed her quietly out of William's bedroom and down the hall, where she produced a key to open a bedroom very nearly at the end. What lay beyond the locked door took my breath away. It was clearly a lady's bedroom, decorated in earthy tones and having its own private balcony and bath. "It belonged to his first wife, and he doesn't know anyone else has the key," she explained. "He never comes here, dear." She pressed the key into my hand. "Hide it well and use it." "Can we arrange for some of my things to end up in here?" I asked. "Of course," she told me. I hid the key in a jewelry box that locked and changed into a more comfortable clothing. Being in William's bedroom, be damned if I would call it mine too, was nauseating to me, so I left to wander a bit. Eventually I found myself in a vast library and breathed a sigh of relief. Here was a room I could be at ease in. I'd always loved books. It was one of the few things my parents hadn't denied me. As I walked around looking at titles, the French doors that led onto a balcony drew my attention, and I went to them. Since the day was not quite so cold to be outside without a suitable coat, I opened the door and walked out onto the balcony to look around. The balcony overlooked a large rose garden, and to the far right I could see a stable. Riding had been a luxury at home, something I wasn't allowed to do unless accompanied by a suitor and an escort. Maybe I'd be allowed to ride alone now. The maid brought me a light snack around 3 and told me William would expect me for dinner at 8. She went on to tell me that I was to have full run of the house and the gardens. If I wished to ride, I could do that as well. I don't think I'd ever changed clothes so fast in my life. As soon as I'd inhaled the snack she brought, I changed into my simple riding habit and headed out to the stable at once. Looking down the row of stalls, I was happy to see that William at least knew quality horse flesh, and I wandered down to see which horse suited me. Choosing a glossy blood-red gelding, I let the stable hand tack him up for me and then mounted to turn towards an open fields. "All right, my boy," I murmured, settling well into the saddle. "Let's see how well you move." Sheer poetry in motion he was. He fairly flew over the ground, taking obstacles with grace and not shying at anything we came upon. He would be my regular mount, I decided then and there. Dinner came before I was ready for it. A lump in my throat. I found myself following the servant to the dining hall, where my husband waited for me. Immediately I saw he was drinking, and knew the night wasn't going to go well for me. "There she is!" William cried, raising his glass in a toast and sloshing half the contents out. "My beautiful young bride!" I forced myself to smile as I seated myself at the table, uncomfortable with how the others at the table were staring at me. "A toast!" William exclaimed, still smiling, "to Ophelia, the loveliest woman in all the country. May she birth me many beautiful children, and indulge you in your fantasies." Someone from down the table shouted out, making everyone except me laugh loudly. By the end of the meal, I was absolutely mortified. William's friends, women included, had discussed the merits of mistresses to keep their love lives interesting, along with how often to invite strangers into their beds, which foods were true aphrodisiacs. Philanderer didn't come close to what William was. Deviant would have been far more appropriate. "You are still a virgin, aren't you, dear?" one of the ladies asked bluntly, a smile on her lips. Cheeks flaming, I stared at her in shock. The nerve! "Come, Ophelia, they are friends," William said. "Friends or not, it is not an appropriate question to ask," I retorted before I had time to think it through. The lady laughed at me, but William glared. "I will see you in our chambers, dear wife," he expressed. "Go prepare yourself for bed." As I left the dining hall, I heard William apologizing for my rude behavior and stating that he would teach me better manners. I knew what that meant. He intended to beat me into submission. I went to his first wife's chambers and locked myself in for the night. He would be furious, I knew, but I would take my chances and try to find a way away from there tomorrow. The shouting lasted for hours when he discovered me missing. "Where the hell did that bitch go?" he yelled. I heard his heavy boots in the hall. Quickly I hid in the wardrobe in case he decided to look inside the room. "Ophelia, if you're still in my house, know that when I find you, you've had it, little girl," William roared. "Your parents were too easy on you. I'll teach you what happens when you disrespect your husband." The door opened around 6 that morning, after William had fallen into a drunken stupor. "Oh, my dear," the maid murmured, setting down a tray. "We'll have to find a way to get you away from here." I had already thought of that, I told her. I'd rather be homeless than let him touch me. She pressed a pouch into my hand. You won't be homeless. A look inside the pouch had me raising my eyebrows. Where did this come from? She grinned. Arthur raided William's vault. He'll never even know it's gone, rich as he is. Now I had two things on my side. William's servants were helping me, and I had enough money to set myself up somewhere else. I'll wait until he drinks himself into a stupor tonight, and then I'll make my escape, I told her. The blood bay in the stable is quick and agile. I'll take him. Don't take him, the maid cautioned me. Take the big black beast instead. The black, I questioned, having not seen such a horse. All the way at the end of the loose box, she explained. William bought him and couldn't ride him, but I have a feeling he'd be willing to carry you. I've seen him running the pastures, and he outran the bay you speak of. She brought me food twice more, and then it was time for me to put my plans into action. I heard William retire to his room half an hour ago, after shouting the house down once more about the things he was going to do when he found me. The money tucked away, I crept from the room in my socked feet, carried my boots. Down the hall past his bedroom I went, and then down the stairs. I didn't see William's valet. Once I was out the door, I pulled my boots and raced to the stable, to the last stall. Oh, I murmured when I saw the horse that was inside. No wonder she told me to take you instead. The immense stallion rumbled at me as I led him out and tacked him up. All right, gorgeous, I need your help, I murmured as I swung up into the saddle and turned him out of the stable. I need you to take me away from here as fast as you can. My life is in your hands. Soundless, the stallion transitioned into a ground-eating gallop towards the woods that edged William's property. Beyond these woods, and we would be home free. We had just hit the outer edge when a boom ripped through the night air, and the stallion uttered a scream and fell to the ground. I was thrown from the saddle as he went down, leaving me a bit dazed. You deceitful bitch! William screamed, riding up not long after on the bay, pistol still in hand. You fucking deceitful bitch! Embarrass me in front of my friends and then think to steal my horse and run away. Oh, God, he'd shot that beautiful animal to stop me. You're a monster, I yelled, struggling to get to my feet to run. William tackled me to the ground, turning me onto my back and tearing at my clothes. You don't know what a monster is, bitch, but I'm going to show you, he hissed. He took my innocence. And then he beat me black and blue. But his rage wasn't spent even then, and I stared through swollen eyes as he drew the knife from his pocket. With a roar, he slashed at me, and I immediately felt a searing pain in my throat, followed by warm liquid. No one will ever look for you out here, Ophelia, he tossed, getting to his feet. The scavengers will have you picked clean before morning, and if someone does find your body, you stole my horse, and that's a crime punishable by death. I watched blearily as he mounted the bay and wheeled him around to head back to the house. My hand went to my throat and came away slick with blood. My vision was dimming. Death would be soon, I knew. Involuntarily, my mind went to the mysterious red-haired man from my dreams, and my hand rested on the pendant. If only you were real, I breathed. If only you could have saved me. No. He knelt beside my body and found no pulse. It was too late. He'd gotten to me too late. Drawing a deep breath, he thought for a brief moment and made a decision. No, I'm never losing you again, he murmured, and put his hand across the gash in my throat. Closing his eyes, he chased down my life force and wove his own energies into it. When it was bright, strong, and whole, he coaxed it back into my body. Then he healed my injuries and waited. When I opened my eyes, I saw him sitting beside me in worry. I smiled. "There you are," I murmured, reaching to touch his face. "I feared you were only a figment of my dreams. I'm glad to see I'm wrong." "Do you remember me?" he asked softly, helping me to sit upright. "Yes, I remember you, Bellarine," I replied. "What took you so long, though?" "I didn't think you'd be happy," he admitted. "It's what I kept telling myself every time I saved you. This time, I couldn't. You were gone, beloved, and I gave of myself to pull you back." "Good," I told him, smiling. "Take me home, will you? This place sickens me." So quoth this raven. I know a lot of you enjoy this series, and this was actually the first one I read, and then I read the others before it. So I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. It really kind of grabbed me. Give Josie some love on Reddit. Give me a like so I know if you liked it. Leave me a comment if you'd like. I always love talking to you, my darlings. And if you have not subscribed, please do so and ring the little bells so you know when to come up and see me. And I will bring you a story next time, my darlings. Au revoir.